Tonight on CTV News, wildfires cause havoc for many around the region. We have the latest. And it's back to the drawing board for Sumner's controversial skate park.
Broadcasting across Canterbury from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to CTV News, now streaming live every night at ctv.co.nz. Well, wildfires have died down after flames teared through parts of the South Island over the past 24 hours. But with all strong wind warnings across the region being lifted this afternoon, many around the region will be able to breathe a sigh of relief. The harsh northwesterly winds reached up to 120 kilometres an hour, resulting in crews dampening down 4 fires in both Otago and Canterbury. State Highway 75 between Christchurch and Akaroa was closed this morning due to fires overnight. It was reopened at around 3 this afternoon. Road closures occurred on State Highway 1 near Rakaia and another near the Ashley Gorge. Firefighters are reminding the public to stay well away from the affected areas, with strong winds causing fires to move rapidly. Well, to today's other news now. The future of the Sumner skate park development is in turmoil, with the current plan to build the project being dumped. Now there's uncertainty for the public and locals where the new site will be and how it will be funded. More delays for the Sumner community, with the controversial skate park being stalled once again.
Disappointing that we didn't put the resource consent on hold and have that still as a backup instead of actually revoking the decision that we made in May. I think the decision we made in May was a really good one, and I think that the site is a really good one.
Last night, the Community Board stopped the progression of the project due to financial issues. American clothing brand Levi's withdrew its $180,000 funding after the consent process for the skate park was delayed. Now, with the Christchurch City Council unable to fund the project in full, it's now left in turmoil.
There's no budget for that. There's no project in the long-term plan for a skate park in the area, and so trying to convince other councillors that a skate park is a priority in the area when so much else is going, I think it's going to be a really tough ask.
The council will now start from scratch to find a new location, with the closed Marine Tavern marked as red zone being eyed up.
That would be excellent if we could use that site, but it's currently in the rockfall red zone, and so there's no guarantees of that. And I think that having the other site, it wouldn't cost us anything to put it on hold, but we could have the other site as a backup if this one doesn't go through. And we don't know what sort of geotech will be needed and all of that. Plus timing is a real issue on that one as well. We don't know when the bunds are going to be built and how much space that will allow us.
But there's a long way to go to get it approved for development through the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Authority. The site would be used for car parking as well.
Community funding, I think, is going to be essential for this, and the community were prepared, they said at our meeting last night. They have set up a Sumner Skate Club to start fundraising, but the build cost for the Esplanade site is likely to be a lot less than a future designed one, and so the capacity of the community to fundraise more money, I'm not sure is there. And I think they'll give it a really good go, but I'm not sure that they'll get there. And plus we still need the council funding for all the planning and processing.
They're now looking to the community to help fund the park, with the trust already set up to raise the money, a large amount due to take some time.
When you're trying to put a skate park in a heavily built up area without a lot of open space and gaps, it's always going to be a wee bit controversial. People's fears over what a skate park will do and what it will bring are often more fear than reality.
There's hope private investors and the community can come together to make the skate park a reality, with many locals wishing it'll all come together. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. A man believed to be in his 50s has been confirmed dead after his bike was involved in a serious crash. The incident happened at around 9:45 this morning, with a stretch of Evans Pass Road between Ocean View and Summit Road remaining closed for a majority of the day, reopening at around 2 this afternoon. The death has been referred to the coroner, and no further details have been released about the man. Well, more and more Canterbury children are at risk of child abuse, but Christchurch-based Family Help Trust are pushing for change. Chelsea Daniels caught up with Minister Paula Bennett today at their fundraising lunch.
Paula Bennett is in Christchurch promoting family health, attending the Food for Thought business lunch today. And she says child abuse is far too common in Canterbury.
Too prominent, as it is throughout New Zealand, but unfortunately you have your fair share of children in this area that are being abused and neglected, but it is organisations like the Family Health Trust that can significantly make a difference.
In its 8th successful year, the lunch usually raises over $30,000 towards the prevention of child abuse in Canterbury.
You can just see the business support, you can see the community getting in behind them. That's an indicator of a strong organisation with a clear vision that's true to what they do well, and that is work with some of the hardest families that are in our country. So, as I say, it's a pleasure to be here just to support them.
The Family Help Trust only commit to the most challenging cases, and they've been helping families in Christchurch for over 25 years.
You most certainly have, there is some intergenerational issues where children are abused and neglected, and I don't think it matters what you're going through. They are in really, really sad circumstances, and it needs intense work. You have a different set of circumstances with the earthquakes where you perhaps see children that would have been fine, but instead you've got a family under immense stress and over a long period of time, and that brings another sort of set of issues alongside of it. But that's why we've put in so much more of the psycho support and counselling to work with those children and their families.
They work with and beside families, sometimes even before the baby is born.
So it's about getting in earlier and working with the families over a much longer period of time that makes that big difference. And, they were one of the ones that developed some of the early programs and the early ways of thinking about how you work with these children. So they are seen as pioneers, and they've always had my respect.
Qualified social workers provide in-home support for up to 5 years, providing advice in areas like healthcare, budgeting, educational opportunities for both the child and adult, anger control issues, and how to hone addictions. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Well, still to come here on CTV News, a Canterbury health specialist launches his first ever novel. Welcome back to CTV News, now streaming online every night at ctv.co.nz. Well, the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Authorities reached a milestone, exclusively telling CTV News they're halfway through land clearances in the flatland residential red zones. The next stage includes removal of paths, foundations and other remaining structures, leaving the land in a healthy state before decisions are made on the red zone's future. It's expected the process will be completed by April next year, and Sarah set to post their full updates publicly tomorrow. It's been over 2 decades in the making, with a local health specialist set to launch his debut novel, discussing New Zealand's troubled healthcare system over 20 years ago. It's his first ever novel about something he's passionate about.
The government of the time felt that it would be a good idea to, I think, privatise the whole public health system. They never actually said that quite clearly, but that seemed to be the way they were going, based on the advice that they received before they actually changed the law.
The book is set back in the early 90s, a dark time for New Zealand, when a policy was put forth for public hospitals to become independent businesses, competing with each other throughout the country to make money.
It was doomed to fail. It couldn't possibly work if you're going to take care of everybody, and that's, I think, what the public health system is for.
The novel is 22 years in the making. He even took time off to focus on the book in 2009 for 3 years.
That sort of long time has been good because I've been able to gather a lot more facts and background as I went along. So it's made it a deeper book, I think.
Now it's ready to be sold on the shelves. And although it features historic New Zealand issues, the story is fictional.
It's 2 different things, really. It's a novel about 2 people who are caught up in these reforms and the effects that they have on them. But it's also a documentary, if you like, of things that actually occurred. So quite unusually for a novel, it's got references at the back.
Callum works as a radiologist at Christchurch Hospital, being part of the industry for over 30 years. His knowledge and experiences are reflected in the book. It follows the life of a character who's a stressed surgical trainee, struggling with the change, and also has relationship issues as well.
There will be people in it who are interesting to read about, people that you care about, I hope. And it was also to show the effects of these reforms on the ordinary people, which can get overlooked when they're sitting up there in Wellington making policy. but it was a devastating thing for a lot of members of the workforce as well as patients.
He says New Zealand's healthcare system has come a long way, especially in Canterbury.
It's infinitely better than it was. I think we're very lucky in Christchurch. We have a well-run hospital system, and the whole system around Canterbury is working extremely well. So well, in fact, that people come from around the world to have a look and take the ideas away. I would like people who read this to be aware of what was done to the public back then, and with that in mind, to try and ensure that it never happens again, as well as having a good read.
The book launches tonight at the George Hotel in Christchurch. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. Well, now here's Warren Head with this week's Business Roundup.
I'm Warren Head for headliner.co.nz. Now, if you've been reading the business part of the newspapers or watching this program in recent weeks, you've probably been picking up that things are looking up for the economy. All the economic data coming through is looking a little bit more bubbly. Optimism, of course, is always a precious thing and short at times, but it seems to me that some of the big indicators are going the right way. Now, we may not see that change the growth rate of the country, but it will mean, of course, that people will be a little bit more free with their spending, so the retail sector should have a pretty good Christmas, I'm picking. Apart from out on the farm, of course. The big news is this week that the new international trade deal, the Trans-Pacific Partnership with 12 other countries, is something quite spectacular in the long term. We'll start to see the benefit of that in about a year or so after they work through just which economies are likely to trade more with us. But what it really means is that tariffs get eliminated in many of the trades that we have with other countries, apart from Japan, which is still probably fairly protectionist. But even there, the tariffs on some important primary product come down from about 38% to about 9%. And in many other countries, it vanishes completely. Now, this bloc handles about 36% of the world's GDP, so it's pretty important. This is the Pacific Rim. We're bang in the middle of it, so we're in a pretty sweet place. Now, I know there's a lot of criticism about some aspects of this particular deal, but it seems that some of the fears are not being borne out by the reality, although we have yet to see a lot of the detail thrashed out through the Parliament. But in respect to pharmaceuticals, it seems that we have got off the hook on that, thanks to an excellent job by our Trade Minister Tim Grosser and his officials over the last week or so. That means that medicine shall not be going up in price, not any day soon anyway. I guess in due course it will, but in terms of a big hit on pharmac costs, that is not occurring. So that was the big fear that I think a lot of people had. The rest of it is probably related to our independence in terms of buying property in New Zealand under this particular new agreement, yet to be ratified. It would be very difficult to reject any foreign offer to buy real estate in this country. I'm not quite sure just how far that scales up and what the role of our overseas investment authorities will be in this respect, but that's quite a big development as well. That brings me around to migration. What we have at the moment is a surge of people wanting to come to New Zealand and a lot of Kiwis not wanting to go away. So our net migration at the moment is flowing at a phenomenal rate of about 60,000 net inflow. That's about 1% of the population. Now, in normal terms, it's about 15,000. It's likely that within the next year or two, we'll be going back towards that 15,000, but that 60,000 net migration is going to put pressure on jobs in this country. And I think we're likely to see the unemployment rate go up. So if you've got a good job, it might be a good idea to try and hold on to it going forward, because things might get a little bit stickier over the course of the next year until this big burst of activity starts to go back to normal. A lot of optimism around this week. One of our big international companies, Air New Zealand, looking for a big year after an already phenomenal year this year. They're talking about a profit of 400 million. And you may well say, well, that's coming out of what they charge us for air seats. Now, well, of course it is. But it also means that they have the cash flow to buy these fantastic new aircraft, which can keep the efficiencies in control and they go a bit further. It also means that you're flying on one of the safest airlines in the world. And I'm in the camp that thinks that if you're stuck at an airport I'm not inclined to grizzle too much about it. I'd rather have my feet on the ground than in an aircraft that's a little bit shaky. So I'm pleased to see Air New Zealand keeping their aircraft on the ground when times get a little bit rugged. I'm sorry for the people who get a little bit annoyed if they feel they're not getting a helping hand, the helping hand they think they should get. And that came up at the annual meeting of the airline this week, probably distracted from what else the company had to say about new routes, etc. But I can tell you that the future looks bright for this airline, and that's good for all of us. I look forward to the future, and I think in about 15 years' time, we'll look back on that new trade deal and say, boy, what a difference it has made to our wealth in this country. I'm Warren Head for Headliner.
Thanks for that, Warren. Well, to sport now, and our Canterbury men's cricket team are in their final stages of preparation for this summer's season. Gordon Finlater reports.
Well, if the last week's weather is anything to go by, cricket season has finally arrived. Canterbury have been hard at work this week with 2 warm-up games against Otago. We arrived at Rangiora's main power oval this morning to see the team in action. Unfortunately, so did the rain. The Canterbury squad have had 4 pre-season games now after being confined to the nets over the cooler months.
It's great to be outdoors. We're only 7 or 8 days away now from first 4-day game for the Plunket Shield, so time's crept up very, very fast, so it's great. Anytime we can get outdoors, we take that opportunity.
Canterbury's season begins proper this time next week, when they begin the defence of their 4-day Plunket Shield title against Auckland.
If we win for a 3rd year in a row, I mean, that hasn't been done since 1939, so that's something that would be really, really special to us. And the white ball trophies, whilst we don't want to make too much of it, we haven't won one in 9 years now, and it's a long time between drinks, and I think it's a long time with the skills of some of the players that we have here in Canterbury.
Coach Gary Stead will be looking for the team to make a good start against opposition they had success against near the end of last summer.
We had a big run chase on the last day where Henry Nichols got runs. I know Peter Fulton got 100, Andrew Ellis got 70 or 80 odd not out as well. So it was a really good run chase, and I guess that was a catalyst for us turning around our form a little bit as well. So it put us on a wee roll there. So looking forward to getting up to Auckland again. They'll be strong. They're a good team. They've got experienced players, so we're going to have to be somewhere near our best. And also we've identified we haven't always started as well as what we would have liked in the past 2 or 3 years. So hopefully we can get an early win under our belt and sort of, I guess, set the precedent for how we want to play for the season.
Canterbury have managed to retain the vast majority of last year's Plunket Shield winning squad, with young batsmen Leo Carter and Kenny McClure picking up contracts this season.
Leo picked up a contract this year, his first one with Canterbury, which is great for him. He played 3 first-class games at the end of the season and played well for us. We've picked up Kenny McClure, who's come onto our list, who's essentially replaced Neil Broom's loss.
McClure has been lucky enough to spend the last 2 winters in England after being selected for Canterbury's exchange program with English county club side Durham.
Our first player to go over was Tom Latham, so I was lucky enough to go on it last year on the exchange, and then the club I was playing for on a sad day, Bladen, actually asked me to come back for a second year, so it's a good experience.
And the overseas experience proved to be more value than just cricket.
It's almost living away from home thing. I think you learn to grow up a little bit more with the living by yourself, almost cooking and cleaning and fending for yourself rather than the cricket side of things. But obviously you learn to play a whole year round rather than just the one season and then have a winter.
Like the rest of the team, McClure will be hoping to show some early form before next week in the hope of making the 11 for Auckland.
There's a chance for everyone. I mean, I made it perfectly clear to our guys before this 4-day game here that anyone can play at the moment. So if people get 100 out here, then it puts their names up in light, and that's what we want. We want that competition.
Gordon Finlater, CTV Sport.
Well, still to come here on CTV News, your region's weather forecast. Welcome back to CTV News. Well, still with sport, international hockey returns to the Garden City tomorrow, with both the men's and women's Black Sticks teams facing some tough opposition.
St Bede's Marist Park will host 2 games tomorrow night, with the New Zealand women playing Argentina at 6 p.m. before the men's Black Sticks take on India at 8. With internationals in Christchurch now a rarity, Canterbury Cavalier and Black Sticks player Brad Shaw is looking forward to playing in front of a home crowd.
Just with my situation, I'm sort of in and out of the squad currently with family commitments, work commitments and things like that. So I guess the last time I actually played was in Christchurch against Canada, and we jump a whole year later and I'm playing again. But definitely don't take it for granted because I've had a pretty long career and you don't have too many games at home, so it's quite nice.
With mixed results in the first 2 games in Nelson, the Black Sticks will be looking for wins in Christchurch to wrap up the series.
Even though we weren't happy with the second game, we still had plenty of opportunities, we had plenty of chances, and so there was definitely positives taken out of it. So it's all adding up to if we can get our mental state right and aggression right and everything else in the third match, then hopefully we should get a good result.
The final game of the Indian series also takes place at Marist Park this Sunday. Gordon Findlater, CTV Sport.
Time now for your region's weather forecast.
Good evening, Canterbury. Well, this morning was a little bit fresher with those southwesterly winds really cooling down the temperatures and isolated showers for some places. Today's highs first up, 15 degrees for almost everyone here, apart from you Twizel taking out 14. Central Canterbury, Christchurch also on 15 degrees there, along with Leeston and Ashburton, 14 for Darfield and Methven, and Akaroa, haven't forgotten you, on 13 degrees today. Heading further north, Kaikoura, 13 degrees for you, Hanmer Springs and Colverton, 14 for Cheviot and Oxford, and 15 degrees was shared by Amberley and Rangiora. Over to the Alpine region, 9 for you, Arthur's Pass, 15 there for Lake Tekapo and 14 for Mount Cook. Sunshine and light winds for the major centres tomorrow. 18 degrees is the expected high for you, Timaru, and a fresh start there on 3 for your overnight low. Ashburton, sunny skies with the odd cloudy patch here and there. 17 is your high during the day and 4 for your morning start there. Christchurch, light winds and sunshine for you also. Could be seeing some sea breezes though throughout the day. 19 is the expected high there and 6 for that morning start. Kaikoura, a nice calm settled Friday in store, 13 degrees for your high during the day, a little bit cooler there and 5 for your morning low. The rest of the Canterbury region will also see some sunshine for your Friday. 17 degrees is the high there for Waimate, 16 for Temuka and Geraldine, light winds for all of you. Central Canterbury, 18 is the high for Akaroa, Leeson and Darfield, a little bit cooler for Methven on 17, lovely sunny skies though with the odd cloudy patch here and there. Heading further north, sunshine for you guys as well. 18 degrees for almost everyone, apart from Colverton taking out the region's high on 21, and Hanmer Springs 16 for you. And over to the mountain ranges, sunny skies for everyone here, 15 degrees for all of you as well. The weekend is also looking nice and sunny. We're seeing 20 degrees the high for Christchurch and Kaikoura. Light winds breezing through, could be a little bit fresh though for some of those inland places. Flipping over to Sunday, beautiful sunny skies on Sunday as well. 22 degrees for you Christchurch, 21 for Timaru and Ashburton, but we are seeing a few gusty northwesterly winds. We're probably pretty used to those by now though. Saturday for the rest of the Canterbury region, we're seeing that sunshine across the board here, the odd cloudy patch but lots of sunny spells, and we are seeing a few northeasterly winds for coastal areas. Flipping over to Sunday, northwesterly winds could be quite strong at times as I mentioned before. Watch a little bit of rain there for Arthur's Pass, but on the whole a mostly dry, fine day for everyone else. So sunny skies over the next few days. We have been having an exceptionally hot spring and we're expecting that warm weather to continue over the summertime. For now though, that's your update for Thursday.
Thanks for that, Mercy, and that is CTV News for Thursday. You can find all our stories and bulletins on demand at ctv.co.nz. But for now, thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jared McCulloch. Have a great evening.
supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.